guys, how are you? Welcome back to another awesome video. We have a TV show review, and for May the 4th, I've decided we're going to talk about Mandalorian Season 1. We've already did Season 2 and Season 3, and early on in 2019, on my original, or not my original, but my old channel, the Prodigious AT channel, I covered the first episode of the first season of The Mandalorian, and I didn't get a chance to really fully do a Season 1 review, even though it's not really that much different than everybody else. But I do want to at least do this in honor of May the 4th, and with the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming out this year. Let's talk about, the show that started it all, thing that made this character so iconic. And so The Mandalorian is a Star Wars series that followed this character known as the Mandalorian. That's what we known him as for like a good chunk of the season. Is he was just referred to as the Mandalorian, this character that had no connections to the Skywalkers, had no connections whatsoever to anybody. He's not related to Boba Fett. He's not related to anyone in the original trilogy or the prequels or anything like that. There are connections and tie-ins to the original trilogy because this is set after Return of the Jedi. And technically, the Mandalorian, Mando, aka Din Djarin's origin, or at least when he was born or when he was a child, the Clone Wars was happening because we do see in flashbacks that separatists and droids were invading his planet and must have slaughtered his people and his parents. But we follow the Mandalorian and, we follow this new, at the time, new character, go on this adventure with him, and he is a part of this thing called the Guild, and he's also a part of a faction of the Mandalorians that still believe in this faith of you must keep and conceal your helmet because revealing your identity and revealing your face is such a big no-no in our cult, in our religion. So this is the birth child and the prodigal child to both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Don't get me wrong, there were other people that did direct each individual episode. Like we had Carl Weathers direct an episode, Bryce Dallas Howard directed an episode, I think there was Deborah Cho or Debbie Cho, someone directed an episode. Basically, there was a director for each episode, but the creator of this series was Filoni and Favreau. And what I really dug a lot, which I've said before, I will still say again, is that what I dig the most about this series is how well they were able to basically make this shit work. Because you compare this to, and I hate to compare this, but if you compare this to the sequel trilogy where we had 3 or 2 different directors having 2 different stories, 2 different ideals, and they were conflicting with the sequel trilogy because J.J. Abrams had his ideas, and then Rian Johnson rejected and retconned a lot of J.J. Abrams stuff. Then J.J. Abrams had to basically incorporate what Rian Johnson did, plus also influence his ideas, also fix everything essentially. Here you have everyone in the room. Everyone's like a knight in the round table discussing, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. We're all in agreement. We're all in disagreement. Okay, cool. And that's what I like about what this series did. But not only that, but this series was at the time, a big deal because this was a grounded, kind of grittier Star Wars. It was a bounty hunter on his own quest, on his own journey to redemption or to his own identity, whatever it may be that he's dealing with. Different adventures he would discover, questioning his faith, believing in his faith, also questioning things about his relationship with Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, that he discovers. Is this a good lifestyle for himself as a person and also for the child? I also like how this show shows how much of a badass he is, how much of a pro he is, and how much of an expert he is at his craftsmanship, at his skills, and at his experience. But at the same time, the environment and the world he's in just keeps beating him down. Because there are a lot of times I've noticed, looking back and rewatching Season 1, how many times he had his ass handed to him. But I think that kind of really isn't a gripe. I think that's a positive because, again, it shows that he is this well-skilled, perfect assassin, perfect Mandalorian that is still kind of getting beat by unexpected things. And this is newer things and newer environments and newer things he has to adapt to. And I think it goes without saying, the practical effects, the whole visuals, everything, the behind the scenes of how they put this season together, how they put this show together, so fucking awesome, honestly, without sugarcoating it too much. And say what you will, I know people are on such a hate train with Pedro Pascal, but this was like peak Pedro Pascal when the first season of Mandalorian hit, and even season 2. And I know people have his gripes with him now, and with he's everywhere and whatever his issue is, and his whole political this and this bullshit, everything, finding every little thing in the world with Pedro and his problems and whatever things he believes in. But taking everything aside, he is awesome as this character. He brings such a gruffness, such a toughness, but also a slight vulnerability to the character that it's just so refreshing to see. And this feels like a very Sergio Leone type influenced inspiration, and you can tell that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were inspired by a lot of like spaghetti westerns, Star Wars style, very much like George Lucas was inspired by older films of his generation, of his time. Favreau and Filoni took a lot of inspirations from stuff like that to imply here, and I think doing the sort of cowboy type for Pedro Pascal, I think he does that so fantastic. And obviously we get attached to the side characters, and of course how much of a marketing merchandise Grogu has become and Baby Yoda has become. But let's not also forget, you know, the late Carl Weathers, who was he was such a very real character, and a very natural and very organic character. And also the Mandalorians. I gotta give it to the Mandalorians, because it is a purge of the Mandalorians that were basically outcasted or shadowed because Mandalore was destroyed. They have to be isolated and kind of like stay hidden, stay secret. I like that. I like the armorist, like the blacksmith Mandalorian. Gina Carano, I think, has a unique character. Taika Waititi is actually really great in this show, and he's really restricted at his goofiness, but I like that he's not so goofy. Don't get me wrong, his goofiness does work in things like Thor Ragnarok and Jojo Rabbit, but I like that he's contained and he just plays a droid, and other appearances by other actors and other characters that I think are nice nods and nice references and little things like, hey, I know that actor, I know that character, just little stuff like that in between that's just great. It's just like the little details, and again, Filoni and Favreau just knew what they were doing with this series. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving the season 1 of Mandalorian, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I know it's, you know, everyone has praised the fuck out of this season, and it's hard to say that because, I mean, you look back on it, it still holds up. And if you look into the eyes and the perspective of, like, if you travel back to, like, 2019, how big of a deal this was, and I still think about how big of a deal it was, and hopefully it still is a big deal when this movie comes out, this Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please smash the like button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Videos every day, if not every week. Make sure you ring that bell. There are new videos every week. Share the video with family, friends, all the good stuff, and more suggestions down in the comments. You name it, I'll do as best as possible. May the 4th be with you to all of you. And check out whatever videos will pop up on annotations here. And we'll see what else I'll have for you guys in store. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all